If you've been following the channel for a while, you already know that one of the most important things for me with film photography and film cameras is choosing the right camera. I mean, doesn't necessarily mean the most expensive, the most technological. Actually, it's quite the opposite. I always preferred a bit more the old, mechanical, very little electronic cameras because I just believe they are more reliable. And a friend of mine, André Peniche, he been insisting to me to test his old film camera, which is this one. It's a Canon EOS5. This camera came like on the early 90s, already have like a bunch of electronics, autofocus, and all of the gadgets that the electronics could offer at the time. So I have the camera with me. Today is about -6 here in Finland, which, believe me, is warm. Let's try and see. Let's see how this camera performs, first of all, on the cold. And I have not tried this camera. I'm literally load the film and testing right now. But let's give it a go. Let's give it a go, see what is the quality and how it works. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe electronic cameras are good after all. Who knows? One interesting thing about this camera is that although it's quite big, you know, it's like quite a huge camera, it's actually pretty light. It's not heavier than my Nikon F3 at all. Actually, I think that the Nikon is still a lot heavier. And yeah, the difference is that the Nikon is probably, well, the Nikon, it's a metal body, this is a plastic body, but it doesn't feel less than a good camera than my Nikons. Considering all the electronics that this camera have, I have to admit I'm actually surprised. I was expecting that this camera would have frozen by now during this time on the cold, but it didn't. Actually worked pretty well. Now what I'm going to do is to do something where I have the feeling that this camera might be a superstar. I'm gonna go meet with Sara, our model. We're gonna go to the studio and do a photo shoot there. I'm under the feeling that this camera is gonna do very well over there. So, here we are at the studio. That's Sara, my very good old friend. I'm happy she's here to help me. And yeah, like I said, I'm surprised with this camera on the cold weather. It has surprised me so far, but I have the feeling that here is where this camera is going to, you know, stand out. Let's see how it goes. We're gonna film the photo shoot and then we get back and talk a bit more about the camera. Just to clarify, right now I'm using the lens that my friend borrowed to me, which is just like a 40mm Autofocus, I don't know much more about, but let's see what we get. The truth is, this camera is a beast. Just like I was expecting, this camera was absolutely outstanding in studio. It was fast, it was precise, very easy to use, very intuitive, no, problems with menus or fiddling around. First, I'm not a Canon shooter, so most of the time I'm shooting with Nikons, and it was pretty easy to, set everything that I need to set on this camera. One thing that I was a little suspicious was about the autofocus. And not because I don't believe that the lens is capable. Actually, I think that this is a modern lens that that came with the camera when my friend borrowed me. But I wasn't too sure about how the camera was going to handle the autofocus due to this age. It's quite an old camera and, like late 80s, early 90s, but I was absolutely impressed. The autofocus was fast and extremely precise. So what can I complain about? Nothing. It was really, really nice to shoot with this camera in the studio. With that said, it makes me believe that this camera is pretty focused on photographers that need fast shooting, like performance photographers, gig photographers, maybe sports events photographers. These guys would benefit from this camera. The only downside, if you are doing sports or some outdoor shooting, is that it's not weather sealed, but it's up to you to judge if it would work or not for you. Anyway, it's very good for fast shooting. Normally when I'm shooting on studio, I take maybe one roll of 35mm with 36 exposures, and that's plenty for me. I normally do all my testing and I prepare everything with the digital camera just to be sure that we have everything where it should. And I try to use the film camera wisely. I don't like the idea of using too many films or to waste film somehow. But this camera was eating rolls of film. It was incredible how fast I managed to shoot 3 rolls. Come on, that's 3 times what I'm usually shooting in studio. Way more than I normally do. I did get a lot more, 3 rolls of film, that's kind of obvious. I got more keepers than I normally have after shooting with a normal mechanical old camera. But that's not exactly the problem. For me, the main thing is to take my time when I'm shooting with film. Think about the shot. Think if that is a shot that is worth it to have it or not. And I'm not saying by any means that this is a bad camera. No, this is an outstanding camera. It just doesn't work for me. The feel that I have from this camera when I was shooting is too much close to the feeling or the user experience that I normally have from a digital camera, which is perfect for some, but is not what I look when I'm shooting film. Like I mentioned, I like to take my time. I like to think about the shot. I like to think about what is happening, how is happening, what the picture is going to look like. And this camera, I was just pressing the shutter like crazy. So that makes me think, maybe I should actually get at some point an electronic camera like this one. Not because, like I mentioned, it's not exactly the kind of user experience I have, but I can clearly see some utility for it. I would love to go, you know, to some car race or to some gigs or performances and actually do shoot with film. Cameras like these would be perfect. This camera would be perfect. I just don't know if that would be something that I would use every day. I don't know if that is the kind of user experience I would like to have for my everyday shooting. But still, did this camera change my opinion about using the more modern and electronic controlled film cameras? Maybe not, but that certainly opened my mind to see that there are a lot of usage for this camera that I might have thought before. Maybe I should give it a go, get one of those, and see how I end up using that or as a tool on my box on the future. So if you like this video, please give the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notifications, and please leave your comments on the section below. Like I say, I would love to, you know, exchange experiences and talk about different perspectives. Convince me that I should have an electronic camera, and let's keep the conversation going. So for now, thanks for watching, stay safe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!